Welcome to Built Through Time.
Great to be diving into this one.
Today we're taking a journey to one of the world's most recognizable architectural marvels, the Taj Mahal.
Truly iconic.
We're going to unpack its origins, delve into some surprising historical perspectives that maybe challenge the story we all know.
Yeah, the standard narrative isn't necessarily the whole picture.
And then we'll explore the complex challenges it faces today, even as it remains this powerful symbol of India's, well, enduring legacy.
What's fascinating here, I think, is how a story often thought to be settled, the Taj Mahal story.
Right.
It actually becomes far richer, more nuanced when we look at these multiple layers of history and its modern-day implications.
Definitely.
It's a testament to human ingenuity, for sure, but also to some ongoing mysteries.
Absolutely. So let's set the stage first. We need to understand the architectural heritage that really dominated northern India for centuries.
Yeah.
The Mughal period, roughly 1526 to 1857.
A huge span of time.
What defined this era's distinctive architectural identity?
Well, the Mughals truly forged this unique Indo-Islamic Persian style. It wasn't just about putting up buildings. It was about creating a grand aesthetic, a blend of Indian structural forms with Persian design and Turkish elements. They fundamentally reshaped the landscape, monumentally speaking.
Okay, so what are some of the key things, the elements that make you immediately think, that's Mughal architecture?
Well, the Mughals innovated significantly. You'll see extensive use of materials like red sandstone, especially early on.
Right.
And later, of course, that dazzling white marble. They popularized the charbagh style of garden.
The gardens, yes.
These symmetrical quadrilateral gardens, often with water channels, fountains, symbolizing paradise, became a real signature.
And architecturally?
Look for pronounced bulbous domes, those sort of onion domes, slender turrets or minarets, broad, imposing gateways, and incredibly intricate surface decorations, delicate calligraphy, geometric patterns. It was a whole visual language.
So given those broad strokes, how did the style evolve with each emperor? Did they each leave a kind of distinctive mark?
Oh, absolutely. Think of it like a baton being passed, Each ruler adding their own interpretation, their own refinement.
Okay, so let's start with Babur. Short reign, but he laid an important foundation, didn't he? He's credited with the Rambagh and Agra. Why is that significant?
Well, exactly. His reign was short, lots of conflict, but the Rambagh is considered the first Mughal garden in India, deliberately laid out in that charbagh style.
So it set a precedent.
Precisely. It wasn't just a garden, it was trying to recreate a piece of paradise on earth. That concept resonated through all future Mughal constructions, especially the tombs.
Okay, building on that, Humayun's tomb, built around 1570, often called a precursor to the Taj. What made it so influential?
Humayun's tomb is a huge step, a striking blend of Indian and Persian design set on a raised platform, again within a charbagh.
Right.
What's crucial is it pioneered the use of red sandstone with white marble inlay and that grand, centrally planned octagonal form. It really set the stage for later, even more ambitious projects, like the Taj.
Then Akbar's reign, 1556 to 1605.
Yeah.
This seems to be where Mughal architecture really found its voice. He had a passion for building, but more importantly, he consciously fused Hindu and Persian styles. What was the impact there?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. Akbar's fusion wasn't just aesthetic, it reflected his inclusive political philosophy.
Oh.
His buildings used red sandstone with white marble inlay, painted designs, but they also integrated elements like bracket and beam supports, more common in Hindu architecture. It created this syncretic style, symbolizing the cultural mix of his empire.
And we see that really vividly in places like Fatehpur Sikri.
Exactly. Fatehpur Sikri, his planned capital, is a masterpiece of this fusion. Think of the Buland Darwaza, that massive victory gate.
Impressive.
Or the intricate lattice screens in the tomb of Saint Salim Kisti. Even the Agra fort, which he largely rebuilt, shows a clear adoption of Rajput planning. It really demonstrates that blend.
Moving on to Jahangir, 1605 to 1627. Preferred paintings, apparently, but still left his mark. What was his major contribution?
Jahangir moved towards greater refinement, more decorative artistry. His most notable contribution, technically speaking, is the tomb of Itimaduddaulah.
Okay, what's special there?
This is where you see widespread, exquisite use of pietra dura.
The stone inlay.
Yes, that intricate inlay technique using highly polished, semi-precious stones. It's a dazzling departure from the more robust earlier stuff, hinting at the delicate elegance to come. He also developed the famous Shalimar Bagh in Srinagar.
Which brings us neatly to Shah Jahan, ruling 1628 to 1658. Widely considered the zenith, right?
Absolutely the peak.
What shift did he bring? How did his vision differ?
Shah Jahan took that refinement to another level entirely. He moved away from red sandstone as the primary material, really embraced white marble.
For its elegance?
Yes, for its delicate elegance and, symbolic purity. His architecture is characterized by perfect symmetry, fluid lines, and an unparalleled richness of surface decoration, especially with Pietrodora, just luxurious refinement.
And his iconic structures certainly speak to that. The Red Fort in Delhi,
His new capital, yeah.
the Grand Jama Masjid, and of course the Taj Mahal itself.
Indeed. He transformed cities, left this indelible mark, pushed Mughal architecture to its absolute peak. Even structures like the Shahi Hammam in Lahore, a Persian-style bath, show his eye for luxurious detail.
And finally, we see a decline under Aurangzeb. What happened there?
Well, Aurangzeb, ruling until 1707, prioritized religious orthodoxy, military expansion, less patronage for grand architectural projects.
Priorities shifted.
Right. His major contribution, the Badshahi Mosque in Lahore, is still immense, but it signals a move towards simpler, maybe more austere forms, less decorative embellishment. It marks the beginning of the end of that grand era.
So with that incredible lineage, that evolution, we arrive at the crown jewel, the Taj Mahal.
Yes.
And most of us know the story. Timeless symbol of love, built by Emperor Shah Jahan for his wife Mumtaz Mahal. Died tragically 1631.
Giving birth to their 14th child, incredibly.
Wow. And the traditional narrative says construction began 1632, took over 2 decades, 20,000 artisans, cost a fortune.
And that's the narrative that's been widely accepted for centuries. And for good reason. It's a powerful romantic story.
It is.
But when we start looking closely at historical accounts, some contemporary ones, a different, maybe more complex picture starts to emerge.
Okay.
It raises that important question. Is the story we know the complete story?
That's exactly what I want to dig into.
Yeah.
Let's start with the traditional understanding. Who were the masterminds? What were the incredible feats involved?
Well, traditional accounts often credit Ustad Ahmad Lahori as the chief architect, Persian-born master.
Okay.
Amanat Khan, another Persian, a calligrapher, famous for selecting and inscribing the Quranic verses. His signature is even found on some panels. It was a truly international collaboration of talent.
And the materials alone suggest that global reach.
Absolutely. The white Makrana marble from Rajasthan, red sandstone from nearby Fatehpur Sikri, and then this stunning array of precious and semi-precious stones, jasper, jade, turquoise, lapis lazuli, sapphire, carnelian, sourced from across Asia, China, Tibet, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka. 28 types of stones, meticulously inlaid using that Pietrodura or Parchinkari technique, creating that incredible, almost painted detail.
And engineering-wise, building something so massive on a riverbank seems tricky.
It was mind-boggling. It boasts a sophisticated double-dome system for structural integrity. The foundations relied on these robust masonry wells.
Wells?
Yeah, deep wells filled with rubble and mortar sunk deep into the riverbed to provide stability. And then there's the precise bilateral symmetry.
Perfectly mirrored.
Exactly. And those iconic minarets, they're actually tilted slightly outwards.
Oh, really?
A deliberate design choice. So if there was an earthquake, they'd fall away from the main tomb, protecting it. Clever.
Very clever.
Even the water system was a marvel, drawing water from the Yamuna using animal-powered systems called purs, then piped through aqueducts to supply the fountains and gardens.
Incredible sophistication. But despite all these accepted details, you mentioned discrepancies. Where do the cracks start to appear in this narrative?
Right. This is where the deeper investigation begins. When we look at contemporary accounts from European travelers who were actually in Agra during the supposed construction period,
What do they say?
we find some intriguing inconsistencies. For instance, the French jewel merchant, J.B. Tavernier, he famously claimed he witnessed the entire 22-year construction with 20,000 men.
Okay. Sounds definitive, but...
But his first visit to Agra wasn't until 1640. That's nearly a decade after construction supposedly began in 1631-32.
Ah, so he couldn't have seen the whole thing.
Exactly. His eyewitness claim for the entire period is questionable. Then you have Fray Sebastian Manrique, a Portuguese missionary. He was in Agra 1640-41.
Around the same time as Tavernier's first visit.
Yes. And he reported seeing only 1,000 men working, mainly on gardens and water features. He noted the main building was still incomplete. That's a huge difference from Tavernier's 20,000 men.
1,000 versus 20,000. And what about others?
Even more tellingly, maybe, is Albert de Mendelsloh. a German traveler in Agra, late 1638, wrote detailed observations of the city, made absolutely no mention of the Taj Mahal or any major construction activity. For a structure this massive, supposedly underway for years, that's a huge omission.
Seems unlikely he'd just miss it.
Very unlikely. And then Peter Mundy, an English East India Company merchant in Agra, early 1633, just months after construction supposedly started.
What did he see?
He referred to Taj Mahal's tomb as already a place of note.
Already. So soon.
Yeah, and he described the structure as primarily brick and red sandstone, with marble only as a lining which actually fits with a lot of the underlying structure we see today. Crucially, he made no mention of foundations being dug.
No foundation work noted in 1633.
And get this, the East India Company's own records. From 1618 to 1655, a period that should entirely cover the Taj's construction. They're completely silent on the matter, no mention.
That is significant.
These aren't minor omissions, they raise serious questions.
Which leads us to this pre-existing palace theory. What evidence supports the idea that Shah Jahan might have, well, renovated an existing structure?
A key piece comes from the Badshahnamas. This is an authoritative account of Shah Jahan's own reign.
Okay.
It explicitly states the site chosen for Mumtaz's mausoleum was originally a palace of Raja Jahan Singh, but it was the property of his grandson, Raja Jai Singh.
So the official history mentions a pre-existing palace.
It does, and the Archaeological Survey of India, the government body, even corroborated this in their own Taj Museum booklet back in 1982. Plus, a Dutch trading officer's account from 1625, before Mumtaz even died, described numerous costly palaces along the Yamuna riverbank, including Raja Man Singh's.
Interesting.
So this suggests the possibility that Shah Jahan acquired an existing grand complex from Raja Jai Singh and then undertook massive, extensive renovations, adding the marble overlay, the floral motifs, the Quranic inscriptions we see today.
Transforming it rather than building entirely from scratch.
That's the theory.
And what about architectural incongruities, elements that seem maybe out of place for a brand new tomb complex?
There are a few things critics point to. Those four towers, often called minarets, they're equal in height and actually shorter than the main dome. That's not typical for traditional minars meant for the cult prayer. And the mosque within the complex itself, it has no minars at all.
Wow.
Then there's the Jawab, the building that mirrors the mosque on the other side. Usually called a guest house. Seems a bit strange for a solemn burial site, maybe.
A guest house at a tomb.
Exactly. And there's even debate about whether the mosque actually faces Mecca perfectly, which would be essential for a purpose-built mosque, suggesting it might have been an existing building adapted for use.
And you mentioned other puzzling features. Underground chambers, a well.
Yes, numerous underground chambers. Some are sealed off now, and features like a large stepwell, a bauli, also drum houses, stables, pavilions, elements you'd typically find in a palace complex designed for daily life and administration, not just a tomb.
More palace-like features than tomb-like.
Arguably. Even the term kalas for the pinnacle on top, it's a Sanskrit term found in a contemporary Muslim account, hints at older, maybe non-Mughal influences. And some dimensional analysis suggests the use of ancient Indian measurement units, like the ogala, alongside Mughal units, pointing perhaps to pre-Mughal planning principles.
And perhaps the most compelling piece of evidence supporting this alternative view.
Maybe the most direct piece is a letter from Prince Aurangzeb, Shah Jahan's son, to Shah Jahan himself in 1652.
Okay, what did it say?
This is supposedly the 21st year of construction. Aurangzeb reports extensive leaks in the main dome, the semi-domed arches, galleries, even the underground chamber.
Leaks after 21 years of supposed non-stop work.
Exactly. And crucially, Aurangzeb states that the master builders on site were unable to suggest any measures of repairs to the main dome.
They didn't know how to fix it.
It implies they lacked intimate knowledge of its original construction, which would be very unusual if they were the ones who had just built it over the preceding 2 decades.
That does sound damning for the traditional timeline.
It certainly complicates the narrative significantly.
So this isn't just about, debunking a love story. It's about seeing the Taj Mahal as potentially having a much more layered, perhaps even older history than we commonly think. Forces us to reevaluate how we read historical narratives.
Absolutely. History is rarely as simple as the popular story suggests.
Okay, let's fast forward to today. The Taj Mahal isn't just a historical marvel. It's a massive economic engine for India, a world-renowned tourist destination. Its impact on India's soft power is huge.
Undeniable. And this raises a really critical question for today. How does India balance the monument's immense cultural and economic value with the growing, very real threats to its preservation?
It's a tightrope walk.
It really is. It's a race against time in some ways to ensure it remains for future generations.
And it is an incredible economic powerhouse. India's most profitable monument by far.
Generates significant
The
revenue.
cornerstone of the tourism sector, which is a key pillar of India's global image, its soft power. India welcomed over 9 million international visitors last year. Tourism contributes significantly to the GDP, expected to keep growing. Campaigns like Incredible India, its prominence during the G20 presidency. The Taj is central to that.
But despite this global prominence, despite the revenue, the Taj faces severe threats. Its once pristine white marble is visibly changing.
Yellowing and greening.
Exactly, gradually turning yellow, even greenish in places. Agra itself is, unfortunately, one of the world's most polluted cities. And that pollution is undeniably taking a visible toll on the marble.
What are the main culprits behind this discoloration? What's causing it?
Well, initially the blame was often put on acid rain from sulfur dioxide emissions from nearby industries and refineries.
Okay.
But newer research points quite strongly to hydrogen sulfide, H2S, from the heavily polluted Yamuna River. It seems to be far more corrosive to the marble.
The river itself is attacking the monument.
In a way, yes. The river receives a shocking amount of untreated sewage and industrial waste. Agra apparently has only 4 treatment plants for something like 90 drains emptying into the river.
Oh, wow.
And adding to that, there are insects, specific species, Goldicheronymus, breeding in the stagnant, nutrient-rich Yamuna water.
Insects, what do they do?
They leave feces on the marble, particularly noticeable apparently in the inner chamber near the original tombs. This contributes to fungal decay. And then you still have the carbon particles, soot, other gases from oil refineries, tanneries, even local funeral pyres and burning trash heaps nearby, all contribute to that yellowish-brown coating.
It's an assault from all sides. And there are structural concerns too, not just the surface.
Yes. The dropping water table in Agra is a big worry. The foundations, remember, are partly wood within those wells. If the water table drops too low, the wood could potentially dry out and decay, undermining the whole structure.
That sounds critical.
It is. Plus, unplanned development, traffic congestion right around the monument. They also pose threats to its long-term stability and the overall environment.
So what's being done? Are the conservation efforts keeping pace?
Well, fortunately, significant conservation efforts are underway. India's Supreme Court has actually been involved since way back in 1984, pushing for action.
The court stepped in.
Yes, even suggesting international experts if needed, and at one point they famously ordered the administration to either restore it properly or demolish it due to what they called lethargy, a real wake-up call.
Wow. Okay.
So restoration teams use traditional methods like applying a special clay mineral paste multani mitti to the marble. It attracts and lifts the dirt away when removed.
Like a face mask for the Taj.
Kind of, yeah. And the Archaeological Survey of India, the ASI, has a scientific strategy. Includes things like desilting the Yamuna near the Taj, cleaning river vegetation. Portions like the minarets, facades, lower internal areas have been cleaned using these methods. But the main dome, that requires further technological research for safe cleaning.
Tricky to clean the dome itself.
Very. And the government is also promoting things like biofuel, renewable energy, electric vehicles in Agra to try and tackle the root cause, the air pollution.
It's truly incredible when you think about the whole journey of this monument, from potentially contested origins, this layered history, to its current fight for survival against very modern environmental challenges. It really highlights how history isn't static, is it? And preservation is this ongoing, dynamic process. Needs constant vigilance, adaptation.
That's really the essence of Built Through Time, isn't it? The Taj Mahal, whether it was a grand renovation or an original construction from scratch, stands as an unparalleled architectural achievement, no question.
Absolutely.
Its enduring beauty still draws the world, but its changing hues, the debates around its past, they remind us that even the most enduring symbols require constant care, constant attention, and critical examination.
What's fascinating here is just the sheer resilience of a structure like this. Through centuries of changing understanding, evolving threats, we've gone on quite the journey with this one, peeling back those layers of history and modern challenges.
We have.
So, as you, our listener, reflect on the Taj Mahal, maybe consider what other historical narratives, stories we think we know, might actually be more complex than they first appear, waiting for us to uncover their full story.
Always more to explore.
Thank you for listening to Built Through Time.